And this is The In Show. And I'm your host, Gus Summers. Good to be back with you today. That's right. We are broadcasting live from the Sunset Strip in the entertainment capital of the world, Hollywood, right from our In Show studios. And we have great in-studio guests. We have Miss Katina Dunn, Mr. Kevin Dunn, and Mr. Tony Triana in studio. Everyone, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Excited, so much to talk about. Katina, we've known each other just a short time, but I feel like I've known you for years. You do so much. We're here to talk about your film, and Tony, he's the star of the film, plays, and Kevin, executive producer on the film. Fantastic. Look at that. I feel so honored. I have so many people involved in this great film. Katina, tell me about it. Tell me, please.
Compañía is a story of flamenco artists in Los Angeles.
Yes.
It also gives the history of flamenco. And I made it because I saw these incredible artists playing and performing. And then I Googled them when I got home, and I couldn't find anything on them. So I had to tell a story about them. I was obsessed.
Yes.
And they just keep getting better and better as from when I started filming in 2010. Very, very good cast and very good crew on this film. But we made it to appeal to people who don't know about flamenco, but it also pleases people who are flamenco traditionalists. So that was pretty hard to straddle. But people really enjoy the film.
Yes.
And they learn about flamenco, which is kind of why I made it.
Oh, okay. Was that your first experience with flamenco a couple years ago?
It was.
Oh, okay.
It was, except for listening to Paco de Lucia when I was young.
All right.
But yes, it was.
Yeah. How about you, Kevin? Was it had you known about flamenco earlier?
I was always a Paco de Lucia fan, but never really attached the whole culture of flamenco.
Yeah.
I know he played a flamenco guitar, but I never really explored any of the whole culture, the dance, and the everything about it. It wasn't until we went to see these artists play just over here at the Hollywood Cafe, and it was just kind of a mind-blowing experience because there's so much improvisation involved, and there was, I don't know, maybe 6 people in the audience that night in the bar. And they're just, it doesn't really matter with flamenco artists. They're there for each other, and they're there for the music. So whoever happens by gets an amazing musical experience, but I just found they feed themselves. They love to perform together. They love the whole art of it. So we were just kind of blown away, and Katina just became obsessed. She was thinking of writing a story about it, and she said, I have to shoot this. I have to get this. So she bought an old camera and started filming it, and then it started expanding from there.
Oh, amazing. And Tony, of course, you're no stranger to this topic.
Well, I come from a flamenco family, so
Yes.
In that family, someone had to either sing or dance or play the guitar or cook, or you get thrown out. So, that was. So obviously, I started to play the guitar.
Okay. Yes.
And keep my place in it. But my family came from Spain, and they were performers and
Amazing.
professional performers.
So did you learn to cook as well?
That I didn't do.
No.
But it sufficed just to do the guitar.
So that was your escape. Okay, you're going to go practice, and you started playing early on guitar, am I correct?
I'm largely self-taught, and I started playing maybe at 9 or 10 years old. And,
Amazing.
and just, I think my father used to sing to me in the kitchen, and I would just grasp the chords and the song, because flamenco is mostly about the song.
Yeah.
So that tells the story, and everything else gets improvised or interpreted from there. You know, the guitar follows along.
Yes.
The dancing interprets the song, and so forth.
Right. Your first guitar, was that a family guitar, or is that
Oh, I
something?
think it was a guitar from Mexico that my uncle had brought to me, like an $8 guitar.
A guitar. Something that you kind of pick up on the airport as a
But I
gift?
still have it somewhere
Do you really?
in a closet, somewhere, falling apart.
And how was that? Was there a family member that knew how to play guitar, or were you kind of taught yourself?
Well, I had
you're
an
mentioning?
uncle who was a musician, actually was like Manuel de Falla, which was a composer from the 20s and 30s in Spain, and he had played in his orchestra. He was an oboist.
Yes.
And then later he became a composer and played the piano, and so he was a very musical person. Then he brought me the guitar just on a lark.
Here you go.
Right.
Thinking possibly that you might play it,
And I loved it instantly, I grabbed it
and so you were.
times.
So at that point, you no longer had to help in the kitchen. You could just
Right,
go play it. Fantastic. And I know in a little bit you're going to be playing a little something for us.
Play a minute or two or something.
Oh,
just to give
man.
you a sample.
Well, maybe we can get you to play a little more. That'd be exciting.
sure.
Yeah, we'll twist your arm a little bit. So, Katina, Kevin mentioned that you went out and bought a camera. So, tell me about that. I'm sure Kevin is a resident expert there on video cameras and everything.
The Sony HVR A1U was so primitive, but I found very experienced people to work on Campania, like Avi Cohn, who had state-of-the-art equipment, and the great film editor Noah Burlow. And these guys were working on rock and roll, really big rock and roll,
Right.
like Chili Pepper videos, Sully Erna of Godsmack. And I thought they could also bring that incredible energy to the project, which they did, because flamenco is all about energy. Every artist in this film has taught me something different about flamenco.
Yeah.
So I was really lucky to be able to learn from them and to pull it all together.
Right. Right. Is it individualistic? The way they dance. Do they dance to a certain pattern, or is it kind of they bring their own their own selves to it?
They bring their own selves according to certain flamenco rhythms. Tony, do you want to say a little
Right.
bit more?
Well, I mean, each one has. There's a technique. There's a basic flamenco technique in the dance and so forth. But each one does bring their own personal statement, their own aire or their air about them, or their own duende. That's something that loses in the translation, that word.
Right.
And they bring their own art into the interpretation
Yeah.
of the song, because flamenco song is made up of either the joys or the sorrows of that lifestyle.
Right. Kevin, when she brought you the idea about executive producing it, what do you think? You were like, oh, this is so
Well, Katina
not
never
known.
never said, would you executive produce this?
Oh.
It was just a question of a title that I received.
Oh, I see. Okay.
As an executive producer, your first rule is never to spend your own money. So
Yes.
I failed on that immediately. But it was just being supportive and making sure we could afford to shoot the film and to get it edited and to get it out there. We really didn't have much for publicity, but Katina did get in quite a few film festivals and did really well. I mean, one of the acid tests was, and Katina mentioned earlier that she was worried about, the purists and stuff. Well, they did take her film in Madrid and showed it, and they loved it there. They just really appreciated the music, and they appreciated what was happening in LA, how these people, because culturally in LA it's a melting pot. So you had Japanese artists, Mexican artists, and they're all doing flamenco, and,
Right.
and you think that bringing it to Spain with the purists, they would kind of look down on that, but they didn't. They really embraced it, and they just loved what the movie was about, because it's the soul that is involved, and when you see it,
Yes.
that's what really sold it.
Oh,
to
wow.
those people. And it was really continuing that kind of feeling, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Catching that spirit of it. That's amazing. That's amazing. So, did you had technical advisors, Katina? You know, when you started to go out with the project, you talked to a lot of flamenco. How early on did you and Tony meet?
I think we met by accident at that Hollywood Studio Cafe,
Yes,
if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Hollywood.
And I just
Studio
happened to
Bar,
be there.
yeah.
That wasn't my normal show place, but
Right, but having been a journalist, I was hunting for people that I felt could express the story.
Yeah.
And I'm still really happy with the people that we have in the film.
Yeah.
And Tony's mother was also a major tutor of mine about flamenco.
Oh, okay.
She lives in Texas
she
now.
lives in Texas.
Yeah, but she was emailing back and forth, and she's full of knowledge. And you have the book there that she wrote about
Yes.
Tony's father, who choreographed Hollywood films.
That's amazing.
But everybody taught me so much about flamenco,
Okay.
and I'm still learning.
Yes. And that was your first meeting when you first.
I believe so.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
Was it 2010?
10.
Yeah,
Mhm.
2010.
Indeed.
Oh, that's amazing. And you just happened to be playing there, or you just?
No, I was just there to see maybe one of my friends perform that
Oh.
night. One of the singers,
Yes.
one of the local singers here, who's actually from Jerez de la Frontera. He's really a world-class flamenco singer.
Antonio
Antonio
is
de
amazing.
Jerez.
He's amazing.
And we're kind of lucky
Wow.
to have him in Los Angeles.
We are.
really.
Oh,
Yeah,
amazing.
it's true.
And did you know Tony was going to be there, Katina?
No,
You just happened to go see the music?
well, I was invited by Joey Heredia to come and watch his percussion with the flamencos, and that's how it started.
Oh, okay.
And I was entranced. Vanessa Acosta Abalos was dancing, Mizuho Sato, Briseida Zarate Fernandez was dancing, and these ladies blew me away. And that led me to Paloma Rios and Manuel Gutierrez, who is De La Cruz in the film, name change, and Timo Nunez. And I still go see them periodically just to see what they're doing,
Right.
how they're reacting to the music.
Yes, yes. So you and Kevin, you both went that night?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 Oh, that's amazing. So how did you hear about it? Were you talking to
From Joey.
from Joey?
Yeah.
Okay. You should go see this.
Yeah.
What'd you think, Kevin, when you saw it?
Oh, I just loved it instantly. I mean, I
Did you?
don't see how you couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Briseida was dancing that night,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just blown away. And I had heard flamenco singing before, but
Yeah.
to hear it live and Antonio sang, and it just when you see someone singing it with those kind of chops, it just it kind of goes right to your soul, or right, it just kind of pierces through. He's got an amazing voice. And you don't, me personally, I don't know what they're singing about, but you know in some way you know what they're conveying.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty hypnotic.
Yeah. That spirit that you were talking about, you catch the creative spirit that they were presenting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Because I saw the video that you had sent where I guess where they went to the theater over here on the Chinese theater, and they just started dancing.
Oh, the flash mob?
Yeah, the flash mob. Yeah, thank you. Was that you filming? Was that the little bit that you did, or was that
We had a
something
lot
they had?
of people filming, and Noah Burlow, our film editor, put it together, which was really wonderful of him.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do something so Los Angeles could know this is happening again after
Right.
the film. So we did Hollywood's first flamenco flash mob because and there were wonderful people in the audience with their cameras, and they were all blown away. And
Yeah.
still, I don't think most of Los Angeles knows about flamenco.
Right. So are you going to try to continue the push with the film? You try and
Yes.
just make more awareness to get people to know about the flamenco
It's
dancing?
my full-time job, pretty much, is pushing every day.
Really?
Right now, we're on Amazon and Google Play and Hulu to rent.
Yes.
But I'm still pushing.
Yes.
I'm still right to festivals. Germany Dance Film Festival contacted me in Kiel, Germany, so they just played us as the opening night film.
Wow.
So I just want to get it more out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, how many film festivals have you personally gone to?
I'm going to say maybe 7. And I
7?
think we've been in 13 because you can't always.
You're right. You can go. I understand.
Like,
Because I'm curious about what because I'm sure you played different parts of the country and the world. What the response have been? The audience response. Have you guys both gone together?
Yeah, one of the coolest responses that I've seen was when we went up to Corvallis,
The Da Vinci
Oregon,
Film
the Da
Festival.
Vinci Film Festival.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that
And
was nice.
there was an old
Majestic Theater.
Majestic Theater downtown, and I think it's had about 350, and we took up Jose Tanaka and Mizuho Sato and
Brisbane.
Briseda came, and they they performed after the film, but it was sold out, and the place went crazy
Did they?
when they played. Literally, they
Yeah.
just went,
They had a standing ovation.
and that
They had tears.
They
People
just-
were crying.
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
they had never seen anything like it. So it was a very interesting crowd. It's a college town. There's a lot of
Yeah.
and they're very kind of low key,
Right.
Oregonians and stuff. They just were, they just like jumped out of their seats.
Wow.
And it was a neat experience.
Oh, that's
But I was really happy that Memphis, the On Location Film and Music Festival, and Lagniappe in Texas, but these are music areas, and they loved the film. And we got a Best Documentary Award from each of those festivals, which I was very happy with.
Oh, that's fantastic. Fantastic. It must fill your heart with joy, to see, your project, out there. And I'm sure it was part of, nails to teeth. What are the response going to be?
Absolutely.
And then, everyone jumping for joy and coming to tears
Yeah.
about it. And Tony, I'm sure that's something you experience all the time. People's reactions to your playing and the singing and everything.
Right. Well, one of the great things about the film, I felt, was that the honesty that came across,
Yeah.
with the artists, and also the fact that I think that most of the artists here, they do continue to study. It's an never-ending process of studying, and
Yes.
that honesty and that dedication kind of comes across in the film.
Yeah.
It really does, and I think that's what people really enjoy about it.
You're the resident expert. When you first saw the film, you thought, "What? Yes, she caught the spirit."
She caught the essence of that. See, the thing with flamenco, unfortunately, is that we don't have those great theatrical productions like we used to have maybe up through the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
And before that, of course. So we don't have those great impresarios that would bring these shows from Spain and
Yes.
or New York or what have you, and those great
Yes.
tours. And that's why a lot of people aren't that aware of flamenco now.
Right.
As much. It's more of an eclectic, almost a back alley art form. I
Yes.
hate to say, but it is that. It has that way.
Wow.
But this film really brought it to the forefront again.
Yeah.
It shows the honesty of the people in Los Angeles that are doing it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like again, when that clip that you gave, I mean, it was beautiful about the flash mob. Them just going out there, and you saw everyone taking pictures and
They were
video.
blown away.
Yeah, they were.
I wish they could see that every week.
Right. Tony, I know you were going to play a little something. Love to have
I
you
think
play.
you're wanting me to do that very soon.
Yeah, as a matter of fact. Hey, what's this little piece that you will be doing?
Well, there's two different types of, well, there's a lot of different types of rhythms, but for the most part, there's a 6/8 time, and then there's a 4/4 time
Yeah.
of rhythms in flamenco.
Yes.
And I might do something in a 6/8 time,
Fantastic.
which is called really like a soleá popularia, and it's sort of a combination of two song forms and two rhythmic forms into one.
Wow.
And I think we're going to need a lot more time to explain that.
Yeah, that's
What I
okay.
just said. But
Fantastic.
suffice to say, it's a 6/8 time thing. If you want me to do that, right
Please,
now,
yeah, perfect segue. Fantastic. Fantastic. Was that something that you had played before, or is that something just spur of the moment?
Well, just a spur of a moment, just the rhythmic pattern of what they call bulerías.
Yes.
And like I mentioned earlier about joys and sorrows in flamenco, so these chords are in a minor key, and they reflect maybe the sorrow, whereas there are chords in a major key that would reflect joys.
A little brighter and such.
Happiness.
Yeah. So as the dancer, listens to the music, they're just following certain steps and then kind of interpret the music and create their dance?
Exactly. I mean, if there's musical parts or falsetas or whatever, they might do an intricate footwork pattern. When there's the song, they might do a marking pattern and sort of dance and do a little filigree and dance with the song.
Okay.
So they will interpret
Yes.
that music and that song, and it comes into one.
Amazing.
And the dancers are never idle. They're percussionists. They're always sitting there, and while these are being played, they're in this kind of synchronicity. They're all
It's a support
clapping
mechanism.
different rhythms together. It's
Right.
really, it's mind-boggling when you hear, because someone will be clapping a totally different rhythm than one of the other dancers, and it comes together, and it's just, and they're listening to the guitar, and the guitar is, Tony's just got things in his head that he's playing.
Right.
They're following it, and then all of a sudden you'll see that they're going to dance to, and they work out things that they're going to dance to, but they're waiting,
Right.
and then they'll come up, and
Amazing.
it's never the same. It's always, for an audience, you get this.
It's not like jazz, it's just
Yeah.
never really done.
Right. Oh, good. Yeah, great
Twice.
point. Great point. Yeah, there's only certain rhythms, but it's how they interpret it and how they feel it. Amazing. Tony, we're going to get you to play again in our next segment. Okay, yeah, of course. I mean, you're here all ready to go. Pull that trigger and we got you going. I got to take a quick commercial break. Tina, Kevin, Tony, thank you for coming in and sharing this.
Thank you guys for
Thanks
having
so much
us.
for having us.
Oh, you
Thank you.
bet, you bet. Hey, well, this is Gus Summers, and you've been listening to The In Show. And we have in-studio guests, Miss Katina Dunn, Mr. Kevin Dunn, and Mr. Tony Triana. And we're going to have a lot more of them in our next segment. So you hang in there. We'll be right back. And this is The In Show. And I'm your host, Gus Summers. Good to be back to you today. That's right. We are broadcasting live from our In Show studios on the Sunset Strip in the entertainment capital of the world, Hollywood. And we have a great in-studio guests, Miss Katina Dunn, Mr. Kevin Dunn, and Mr. Tony Triana, all in studio. Thank you again for, just coming and sharing, the music, Tony, the film, Kevin, Katrina.
Thank you, Gus. Really, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I mean, when I saw the clip and all the information you gave, I mean, it was easy. I know you guys are so busy. Tony, we talked a little bit about you, and you were 9 with a guitar and everything.
Right, when I started.
When you first started, and now it's only been 10 years since.
Late 60s, let me see. Running out of fingers.
I'm with you. Kevin, Katina, I think this is where the French comes out. I'm a sucker for a good love story. How did you guys meet? May I ask?
How did we meet?
We
Yeah,
were fixed up by
Oh,
an
a friend
actor
of ours,
friend, Johnny
yeah.
Moorline.
really
Chicago.
Yeah, introduced us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
fantastic. Were you on a project, Kevin, or were you just living
Gonna
out
play.
there?
Back, yeah. What was it?
Really? And whose friend was he? Was he both your mutual friend, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
With,
He's still one of our
Johnny
very
Moorline,
best
yeah.
friends.
Still.
He said, "I have this perfect guy for you, Katina." He said,
He
"No,
didn't
not."
say anything. He just kind of
He didn't say.
put us
Just put you in the
close
same room.
quarters and-
So through my filter, you saw each other across a crowded room, and the violins were playing, and who spoke first? Who said hello first?
Well, it's funny. We met after I did a show. We met after the show and we talked and stuff. And then I went over to visit you. I remember it must have been 20 below zero. I had like $4, so I bought the cheapest bottle of Chianti I could. I took the L. The only people on the L were homeless people with towels wrapped around their heads. It was very surreal. And I got to Katina's place, and she dropped all her stories in front of me and said, well, this is what I do. So I spent the next couple hours reading all of her different stories that she wrote for different news outlets and stuff. And it was love.
It was.
I said,
You
read
stayed there.
this. Okay.
That's amazing. So you, because I know you have a journalism background. So where were you working at the time? Were you
I
freelancing
did,
or were you somewhere?
Hot type column for the Reader, Chicago Reader. I worked for the Southtown Economist. I freelanced for the Chicago Tribune and Chicago Magazine. And then I moved out to
Well, you were stringing for Newsweek then. too.
and for Newsweek, yeah. And then the Orange County Register moved us out, and we lived in Long Beach in '87. And I was their style editor for a couple years.
That's how we got to LA. She was like, let's get out of here. It's Chicago. So she went and interviewed for jobs in New York and Los Angeles.
And that's what brought you guys out here
Yep.
permanently?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Orange
amazing.
County
Wait,
Register.
so now I'm curious, was that your litmus test for Kevin? Here, read these stories and see if he reads
I
them.
just thought I saw what he did, and I wanted him to see what I did.
Oh, okay.
Because it's important to see what people's expressions.
Right.
So maybe he wouldn't like it, you know, and then we could just end it right there.
Okay.
That's kind of how that's what she's like.
Okay.
Stand it right there and I can walk away and you can go
And that was it. So
do your thing and I'll do mine.
that's great. So now I'm curious, a couple hours, was that as long as your play? So did you put, okay, she sat through my play for 2 hours, I'll sit here
Yeah.
and read these for 2 hours?
Okay. It was quite a stack. We went out and had a burger and
Fantastic. And then all these years later, look at it was a perfect match in heaven.
she won't count. She doesn't like to count.
Oh, no, of course not. No counting.
Anniversaries.
La 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 la. That's fantastic. But look at how was it working together? You know, on the film. Did you were you?
Well, for you know, in reality, I really did. It was Kat's thing. That was her passion. I'd love to go and watch shows, and
Yeah.
you know, I was working, you know, a lot of the time, but you know, she put everything together. She found the people that, and you know, it's a very hard process to, you know,
Right.
you go through. You don't really, you know, she's from a journalism world. She didn't know anything about, you know, finding editors, and you know, went through a couple editors and, you know, a couple DP operators and stuff. But the people that she found were just, I mean, she made the right choice. She found the right people, and I think a big strength of the film is Katina's journalism background, because she's really knows how to interview people.
Right.
I mean, that's her whole. I mean, our date wasn't. I was interviewed, you know, and but the interviews are really strong, and you know, you have my favorite line in the film is when you guys are talking about rhythms. You know, the composite. If you don't stay on them, then it's a flag and a ticket. What is
A
it?
flamenco ticket?
Yeah, it's a foul and a flamenco ticket. You know, these things. But the interviews are filled with that.
Yeah.
You know, the performers are so they're just able to explain this whole world, and each interview, they're just great. They're great interviews.
Right.
And you find out so much about the artists and why they do what they do.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of the film are the interviews, and it's
Right.
very satisfying
Yeah.
listening to these artists talk about their craft and their art.
Yeah.
It's really a cool part of
Oh, that's
of
awesome.
the film.
Right. You know, that's a interesting take. When you were interviewing, were you doing it from a journalistic standpoint? Did you, you know, Kevin's been in film for many years. Did you do it from a director standpoint, producer? You know, what was your point of view? I'm curious. Was it just all encompassing just to get the interview? Was it an artistic versus a journalistic point of view?
My point of view is to create a safe space for the person being interviewed. So I'm also very honest with them,
Yeah.
so that they're very honest with me.
Yeah.
And try to create a conversational, relaxed atmosphere so that I can capture them almost like in flight.
Right. Right. To catch at that pure sense, to have them feel comfortable and such.
But even in performance,
Yeah.
one of my favorite things about this project is that you can actually see people shapeshift while they perform.
Oh, wow.
You can see them change like into another being quickly.
Right.
It's like a flash, but I think that's very rare, and
Yes.
that you can't fake.
Right.
That's not acting.
Right.
That's what I love about documentaries, that it's real.
Yes.
So I try to make it comfortable for them, so they can be free to express.
It really makes you want to be a performer when you see the film. To
Yeah.
be able to play the guitar,
Y-
to sing like, you know, you just go, wow, I wish I would have done that.
People do say
Because
that. They
one of
do
the
say
funniest
that.
parts is right after you mention that following a ticket, it goes to the fountain and you're playing and Antonio's singing and you guys are all in that line playing and something happens rhythmically and you start laughing and then all of a sudden he hits his guitar and goes pop pop and everybody bursts out laughing. You don't really quite know why. There's nothing that you can detect
Right.
that has gone wrong, but it's just one of those moments, you know, golden documentary moments that just, you know, you just love it when you see it.
It was just one of those. Was it like a little instant?
Flamenco has a little sarcasm to it.
Ah,
too,
okay.
you know, and it was just one of those where you could just get it on the beat, but just on the very edge of the last hair of the beat and go pop. And then-
Right.
and that's what kind of makes everybody ah ha ha ha.
Because they know what you're doing.
Right, exactly. It's a very musical, rhythmic kind of thing.
Nice. So to the novice, they know that you did something, but to you guys,
But even to the novice, it was still fun, you know.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
I think the audience.
I mean, the dancers will often turn right to a guitarist or a singer, and you'll see them looking at each other and responding in some way, you know. And
Yeah.
the dancer will kind of move towards the guitarist, and then they'll knock something off and laugh or say something and go on with the show. It's fascinating.
It's a privilege to watch that communication with each other. It's
Yeah.
very special. And what I love about Antonio de Jerez and Antonio Triana II is they have great senses of humor. These guys are silly, coming from that word blessed, selig, which means blessed, silly. But I just caught that right away, having
Right.
grown up, of course, with Mad Magazine or however. I love those guys. I
Right.
mean, and they taught me also flamenco is not all Sturm und Drang. It's not all heavy and Antonio told me privately that there's a lot of humor in flamenco.
Yes.
So we tried to also preserve that in the project.
Right. And that must be a point of view that you bring. You know, you're light and you have humor, so you bring in this lightness and this those little moments
Exactly.
where people can.
But it's not self-conscious, and it just flows. It's not like
Yeah.
we're going to be fun. It's not like watching, you know, performers or actors trying to be funny or do funny things off camera or something. It's just this organic, huge heartbeat that's going around, and you know they're
Wow.
really loving what they're playing. So
Yeah.
you get to love what you're watching.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
it really is.
you know, Tony. I would like you to play a little something. When you saw the film, and your scenes in particular, I know a lot of performers don't like to watch their scenes. When you were watching and you saw everyone dancing, and you know, then focus on you playing. How was that? What was that to you? Oh, I caught that beat, or you know, I wish I would have done something a little different.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of performers, and I'm sure every time they see them, whether it's acting or music or what have you, or in paint, I wish I'd done that a little different, or just gone do it in a different direction. But I think, as far as the movie was concerned, I mean, I really enjoyed every minute of it, because it was finally putting this art form that kind of deserves to be, you know, seen.
Yeah.
And you know, and Katina and Kevin just, you know, they enabled all of us to to be out there and show this. This is what's happening, and so I just felt really happy that it was just there. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever I did. Of course, I hate everything that I did.
Right. I can imagine.
Just to answer your question.
I understand. And perfect little segue. You have a little something else for us?
Well, gosh, let's see. Well, see, before I gave you a 6/8 time, so maybe I
Yes.
should give you like a 4/4 time, a little bit slower, maybe more sorrow,
Okay.
which
Wonderful.
we need happenings.
Send
these
us out
days,
with a bang.
but-
Yes.
I'll try to end it with a bang.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. And this is all spontaneous, am I right?
Just off the cuff. Oh, I think I forgot something. Oh,
Done. That's fantastic. When you sit down to write music, again, I know you're self-taught. Is it just the flow of it? You just sit down and just play, or
well, here's what happens because
Yeah.
most of the musicality and the rhythmic things in flamenco are traditional, and there's no written music for it.
Okay.
So it's all by ear, and while I can come up with a musical interlude, it'll probably be maybe a variation of something that was played before by many other different artists, and I might go in a different destination or a different arrangement to it.
Okay.
But I'm not really writing music. I just wanted to make it.
Yeah.
So
No,
that
that's
everyone will
fantastic.
understand.
Yeah, that's a great little insight. So are these decades old, centuries old? How far back does this go?
I would have to say some of the themes are centuries old, because a lot of the music it emanates from India, and Arabia, and there's Arabic and Moorish themes that are in there. So you get a lot of that.
Yes.
So you get a lot of that sound, which obviously they were in Spain, those peoples for, their 500-year stints. And
Right.
That music
Yeah.
got captured, I guess, by the gypsies at some point, by the Spaniards, and
Yeah.
and it just became flamenco.
Yeah. I know this is part of your family. Have you become like an unofficial historian of flamenco? Do you know a lot of the origins and the history of?
I'm not going to give myself a title on it. But, no, I just what I know from my father and mother, because they were performers, and my father had performed all his life. He was a
Yeah.
flamenco dancer and
That's amazing. So,
made it to Hollywood.
can you trace back to like the first flamenco dancer? Do you know who's like an official? Is there an official start of flamenco music and dancing?
Well, in Spain, even in the late 1800s, they had flamenco shows and they had flamenco performers.
Yeah.
And there was dancers. There was a dancer named Escudero who was one of the first dancers, say in the 20s and 30s.
Yes.
And then my father sort of brought flamenco to the forefront. He was also a Spanish classical dancer. He would take a lot of Spanish classical music themes
Yes.
from composers, whether it was Turina or Albéniz, those Spanish composers.
Yes.
But also, and that was a ballet español. But then he brought flamenco forward later on into the forefront,
Yes.
in the world forefront, and that's when he met Carmen Amaya, who was a flamenco,
Yes.
wild woman dancer.
Right.
And then they managed to get to this country in the early 40s, and they just kind of went from there. And there's a lot of other stars
Right.
that came across.
I know you.
So there's a historical
Right.
order.
Right. And when they got here, do you feel that's when it really took off globally? And when they got to Hollywood and it was featured
Right.
and
Well, I
such?
think when it got to New York, that's where there was an impresario by the name of Sal Hirok, and he was one of those great impresarios that brought big ballet companies and opera companies, and he just
Yes.
had an endless trove of money, I guess, to bring in these world-class performers, and that's
Yeah.
where they could bring in people like Carmen Amaya and do these, world tours.
Right.
And
Amazing.
was that your question?
Yeah. I'm trying to get the history of it. Yeah.
Right.
That's beautiful. And then here you are, in the midst and still performing lively. That's a great segment. We got a few more minutes. I wanted to give you a chance to talk about some upcoming performances. I know you have music and books and all kinds of stuff.
What I've been performing at lately is at El Cid, which is a tablao flamenco dinner theater restaurant that we have in the Silver Lake area on Sunset Boulevard. And what the great thing about El Cid is that they've been there for 50 years, and they've had different iterations of flamenco over the years. But I've been performing a lot there with Antonio de Jerez, who we mentioned earlier,
Yes.
and who's really a prominent singer. And with a lot of these stars that are in the movie, they also perform at El Cid.
Beautiful.
Whether it's Vanessa and Briseida and Misuho and so forth,
Yes.
and a lot of other great dancers. And so throughout April, I have dates. If you want me to give you those,
Please, yes.
Where's my notes? Let's
Oh,
see
there
what
you
we
go.
have.
There you go. We find them.
Well, for instance, I think I'm there 6 times at El Cid in April. April 3rd, we have Vanessa Costa from the movie Compañía,
Beautiful.
and Lauren Santiago. And of course, I'll be there with Antonio singing. I'll be playing and he'll be singing on all these dates. That's, I believe it's Thursday, April the 3rd, Sunday, April the 6th, is Wendy Castellanos, who's an emerging flamenco dancer who's just unbelievable.
Yes.
And she's also has roots in jazz and modern dancing and world dances, and she's very prolific in that. But she'll be dancing. And again, Lauren Santiago. The following Sunday, April 13th, Wendy again with Masuda Cohen, another amazing newcomer in flamenco. On April the 18th, Wendy Castellanos has her own presentation at El Cid.
Yeah.
I will be in that show. I'm privileged to play for her there.
Oh.
On the 25th of April, it'll be with Misuho Sato from the movie again.
Wow.
And
Yes.
Masuda, yeah, she's incredible to watch, amazing. And April 27th, another dancer by the name of Marcela Aguayo, who I believe makes a quick appearance at the end,
Yeah.
near the end of the
Yes.
movie. And she's just another amazing performer. She has a show there with Jesus Montoya, another singer, a very
Wonderful singer.
wonderful singer, busy man. And that's on the 27th. I think I'll be accompanying that show as well. So there are all those dates in April.
Wonderful. And how about website, Facebook, Twitter? On some of those?
I have a website that's a little bit under construction, but you can still take a peek at it, which is antoniotriana.net.
.net.
And
Fantastic.
I also have, performances at the Fountain Theater, which I've been working at there for on and off for about 20 years, really.
Oh, wow.
Do they still perform every Sunday,
Um,
basically, or was Sunday
They're
a
doing it
month, or-
once a month
Yeah.
now. And I think there might be a show coming up in May for me there, and I usually direct those shows,
Yeah.
and been doing
Wow.
that. And that's a great venue because they've been keeping flamenco alive as
Yeah.
well,
We
aside
went
from
last
us.
Sunday.
Yeah.
and,
Forgive me?
We went on Sunday.
Oh, you did? Oh, for that last show. That was a
Yeah.
great show, I
Oh,
think.
my goodness.
That was with
Jose Tanaka and Gabrielle Osuna played guitar.
and Carola
and,
Zatuche was the
I had never seen her
lead
dance.
dancer from San Francisco.
Wow.
Yeah, I brought her in for that show. So.
Just
Yeah, she's-
incredible.
she's
It's so different. It was Mizuho and Briseida and
Carola.
Carola, and those three together it was just astounding. And then they danced together. It was just beautiful. And who sang was
Jose Cortez.
Jose
Jose
Cortez.
Cortez.
Also from San Francisco.
Just
Wonderful
wonderful.
singer.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it was a great show.
Wow, fantastic.
We watch them like athletes.
Yeah, right.
We do.
Yeah,
Like,
sure. Yeah, they draw you in,
Presents
don't they?
The narrator and everybody who watches the flamencos, and we keep track of them. And does anyone have any injuries? You know, it's really funny.
Yeah.
And they finished the show, and Jesus was there in the
Oh, Jesus came for the
in the
Fender
audience,
Fiesta.
and he came down, and they did
It was
this
fun.
little impromptu.
Wow.
It was great.
Oh,
Can I
amazing.
give you more dates?
Yeah, please. I want to say, yeah, please.
Briseda Zarate is at El Cid, March 28th, with Gabrielle Osuna. She's at the Fountain Theater April 13th on a Sunday. And then she's doing something really interesting April 18th at the Highways Performance Space in Santa Monica. She's doing Tzigana Gypsy Poem with Jesus Montoy and Andre Bedin. I'm probably not pronouncing it, Bedin.
I think it's Vadim.
Mizuho is Saturdays at Cafe Sevilla San Diego. Gerardo Morales, who's wonderful on the cajon in the film, and he does give one of the best quotes about what company it is. He's Friday at the Dub Club at the Ecoplex, and he plays with Gabriel Osuna Subsuelo at East Side Love. Now, the soundtrack has a touch of hip-hop, which I wanted to appeal to the younger people to show them flamenco. And Canyon Cody and Sean Dyer, the co-composers, organized Subsuelo at East Side Love with this kind of music with Gabriel Osuna and Gerardo Morales, and Cristina Lucio dances, and there's other people also. It's a crazy dance scene that people really love, and it's a very popular event. Manuel Gutierrez, El Cid, April 4th, April 12th and 13th, he's in Santa Ana. If they go on the company Facebook page, I'll tell people where. And April 26th at the Barclay Theater in Irvine, which does really big shows.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you know what that event is, by the way, in April 26th?
I'm not familiar with that one. I might be in one myself in May,
Oh, okay.
at the end of May or April, but I'm not sure.
Great.
Oh, amazing. And they can get all this information, and they can look up Campagna, right, on Facebook, and
Facebook page.
everything.
Yeah, I post all the news and the photos from Bruce. Bruce is still taking photos. Beautiful
Fantastic.
photos.
Fantastic.
So we always post those.
Yeah. And I know this is your main project that you're with right now. You have anything coming up in this the end of the year or this coming year? Any other projects?
Nothing
And this
has
is
seized
your-
me to this deep degree
Yes.
as this has right now.
Right.
But I have an open mind. You do something, you live with it for years.
Yes.
This is 2014 already, and I started in 2010. I'm still,
Fantastic.
still working on it.
Yeah, you bet.
So
And Kevin, I know you're always out there working. You got some projects coming out end of the year, this next year?
Veep Season 3 premieres on HBO,
Yes.
April 6th. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be pretty wild. And Draft Day.
Draft Day.
Brightman's newest film with Kevin Costner.
Yeah, that's
Opens on the 11th.
fantastic.
So,
Yeah.
and they all know about flamenco.
And then,
yeah, we,
Did you-
Kevin works
yes,
with-
everyone I work with knows right now. And see the movie, see Compania. It's a wonderful, wonderful journey.
It's all my fault.
It's all Tony's fault.
that's fantastic. So now my question is, who breaks the ice? Does Katina go over there and have you guys seen flamenco, or did you bring it
It
up?
doesn't take her long to start
No.
talking about the flamenco and the film and stuff. So I don't have to.
I'm shameless.
I don't have to break any of it.
You know.
And you'd be surprised how people they don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say, why did you tell me about your wife's movie? I said, well, I didn't get a chance to.
That, she was telling you before I could. That's fantastic. That's wonderful. It's to see an art form and someone, all of you, love it so much and make sure that people are seeing it. Is it everything at this point? Is it everything that you imagine it would be? How people are response to it, the attention it's been getting.
For the response, I still work on getting people to know about these artists in LA.
Yeah.
So I still work on that.
flamenco has its base of very, very loyal fans.
Yes.
But to me, Los Angeles is a very odd place where this whole art form exists, and it's not seen by many people.
Right.
Should be written about every week.
They don't even write about it. The show that was in Irvine wasn't even covered by the LA Times. It was one of the biggest.
And unfortunately, the LA Times, I mean, they're the best, critics that were dance critics that used to work for the Times, whether it was Louis Siegel or Victoria Looseleaf, and those folks, they would promote dance shows and flamenco in particular. And
Right.
they were great reviewers, and they're not. It's a different medium now, so they're not it's not getting the coverage.
And if you haven't seen it, and once you see it, I mean, it changes my day.
Right.
For, several days. I wake up, I don't have any stress, I don't have any, because it just totally opens your brain.
Wow.
And it's just really,
Yeah.
it's so fulfilling to go see great flamenco, and it's right here.
Yes. Yes. Right in our own backyard. Yeah. Now I know.
It's even the same in New York. We went to see some incredible artists from Spain and New York, and this wonderful place down in the Village. It was packed on a Saturday night.
Alegrias.
The Village was packed. There was probably 30 people who watched it.
Yeah.
Liza Minnelli was there.
Wow.
But we were sitting there with these incredible artists, and
The
Yes.
room was empty.
and
Yes.
they were just
More than half empty.
putting it down. It was just incredible.
Wow.
When you go outside and people are, hanging out at clubs and like doing kind of nothing,
Yeah.
it's like, why don't you go listen to some fabulous music?
Yeah. Watch some
Be a better
dancing.
date.
Yes. That's right. That's right. So, will you be having another screening anytime soon? Are you planning anything here in LA?
Working on some more screenings here, and I would like to
fantastic.
do an anniversary performance, maybe in a year,
Oh,
with
wow.
everybody.
Oh, that'd be
If I
wonderful.
can find sponsors for that.
Fantastic. That'd be great.
Could be.
Yeah. We've reached the end of the show.
Thank you so much.
Oh.
Thank you.
so much.
My pleasure. Yeah, you bet. And thank you for sharing the music, the movie, the stories. It's heartwarming that like again that there are people who love it so much and are willing to really bring it forth. Thank you again. And Tony, I know you're going to be playing for us in a little bit our exit song.
An exit song.
Yeah, of course. Got to get you to do that. All right. Look at that. Yeah, applause everywhere. Everyone, thank you again. Hey,
Thanks, Gus.
you're welcome. You bet. Hey, well, this is Gus Summers, and you've been listening to The In Show. And we had in-studio guests, Miss Katina Dunn, Mr. Kevin Dunn, and Mr. Tony Triana, and bringing us his wonderful music and their wonderful film about flamenco dancing in Los Angeles. Of course, you can visit us at theinshow.com where you can get more information about that movie, and of course see this interview when we have it posted, and of course everything else that we are doing and have done. And of course look for us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Flickr, and all those great social media sites. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, Gus has left the building.